sales is the most lucrative skill in the world, period. The problem is most sales advice out there today is outdated, cheesy, and can even keep you from getting the deals that can make all the difference in your career. This is the No BS Sales School, a podcast for entrepreneurs and salespeople who want to master the skill of selling without all the BS. Welcome to the No BS Sales School podcast. I'm your host, Walker McKay. Today, I got a pretty cool cat. I got a guy on the show, a new friend of mine, Justin Cunningham. Justin is coming from us live in the South Island of New Zealand. He is the founder and principal of I Shift Results. He teaches people and companies how to about standing out, transformation, and optimization. I want you to listen today because we're gonna talk a lot about beliefs and dealing with fear, among other things. And hold out to the end because I promise this podcast is going to end in a different way than you ever imagined it would end. I also want to recommend, before I bring Justin on, if you have not yet, please write a review on iTunes for this podcast. Go to the podcast page, click on it, scroll down to the reviews, click write a review. I don't care if you write "this sucks," but the more reviews, the more Apple puts it out for people to see. So let's increase the listenership of this thing. All right, now back to the program. Justin Cunningham, welcome to the show.
Oh, thanks so much for having me, Walker. I really appreciate it.
So I read a biography of you, and it had things. It said that from a young age, you were a 12-year-old skateboarder phenom. Next, you were a rap singer star. Next, you began your career in business and sales and marketing and did a lot of education. You've done a lot of cool stuff. How about put some flesh around that? Take a couple of minutes and tell me how you got to where you are today.
Oh, cool. Yeah. Well, yeah, I'm definitely a Gen X poster kid, I was skateboarding since about the age of 7. And my big dream when I was a kid was to be a professional skateboarder.
Wow.
And it led me to sort of become top 3, top 5 in my country and skateboarding with Tony Hawk and all that good stuff. And so that was great, but I was never quite good enough to break through into the pro ranks. I was sponsored, but I couldn't get through into the pro ranks. And my body was starting to talk to me and saying, hey, this is a tough journey you're on.
How old were you when your body started to talk to you? Were you like 17 by then or what?
Oh, no, this is later. Basically I had pushed it as hard as I could through my 20s. Yeah. And by the end of my 20s, I was like, wow, I'm wrecked. And then by 32, I was like, okay, that's it. Yeah, I can't keep pushing it anymore. My day is done. And
was that your main source of income at the time?
No,
were you making money doing that?
I was running a lot of retail stores. There was, so doing a lot of that stuff and was general manager of stores and various things. So at that stage, it was a bit of a dual life. And then and all along that journey, I was really into hip hop music. When I was 17, I was introduced to hip hop music. I was always into alternative music all my life. And I listened to this music and went, damn. But that's on a whole nother level. And, now these days, everyone's like, oh, yeah, rap, whatever, it's everywhere. But back then, I come from a little white vanilla town in the south of New Zealand. In a little white vanilla country. Yeah. And hip hop was like a total revolution, like punk rock music was, And
so is it like Sugar Hill Gang, or were you back that far? I mean, I'm Gen X too.
Not quite that far. It was like 1987, so it was like Ice-T's first album was the first album that I bought.
NWA maybe?
Yeah. So that's where that started, and I loved it. But at that stage, I still wanted to be a professional skateboarder. But all along that journey, I was still in love with hip hop and going to clubs and stuff. And I started freestyle rapping when I was 17. So I was always good with language. Let me stop for a second.
Did your parents think you'd lost your flipping mind?
No, my mum's a liberal woman, and she was totally open to me expressing myself. My father was an MC for performers. My grandfather was an opera singer. So this was pretty normal in our family to be creative and a bit weird.
Yeah, it's awesome. I love that.
So we, carried on this journey, and then eventually I got to the age of about 29, 30, and I'd been getting pretty good at this freestyling thing and towards the end of my skateboarding stuff. And I was like, you know what? I want to start rap battles, because there weren't any rap battles in my country at that stage. This is 99 going into 2000. So I started rap battles in New Zealand, and then that took off and it blew up. Like, these events went from nothing to like 500 people in a room, which is a lot of people in New Zealand.
But there weren't any, but it wasn't like, there was no social media to promote this at the time, right?
No, that's right.
This was all analog at the time.
It was all buzz. Yeah. So, and then these people that came through these events went on to have international careers and perform with Wu-Tang Clan and, all this sort of stuff. And so, and then a couple of years later, I ran the first international rap battle in the world, which was New Zealand versus Australia. And in Australia, they were really getting really good. Like, at that stage, there was a couple of guys in Aussie that were the best battle rappers in the world. In fact, they went to the biggest rap battle in America and they took it out quite easily.
Wow.
And so, it was quite an interesting journey. But, the creative arts are a bit fickle, and about sort of 6-7 years later, it was all starting to falter, and we're a very small country. And so the sponsors were starting to fall off, and it wasn't so new and cool anymore. And I was like, okay, what next? I don't want to go back to retail and this old stuff I did when I was young.
Yeah.
And so I started, retraining myself. And that's when I got into coaching. Then I got into the learning about, direct response marketing. All the while, though, I had been leading sales-driven businesses. And I'd been leading and training people how to sell since, Adam was a boy. So I then started working with bigger and bigger companies and helping them. And that led to working with, Coca-Cola and Mercedes and a large furniture retailer in Australasia called Freedom Furniture, which is very big down here. And then I started thinking, well, how do I combine all this stuff? Like, I'm really falling in love with this online marketing, and I've got the sales training stuff. And then what I realized was there's this idea that if you want more sales, go and fix your marketing. I was like, hey, right. That's interesting, because marketing people will give you a marketing outcome, not a sales outcome.
Correct.
And then there's this idea in the sales department is like, if you learn sales skills, your sales will increase. Well, not if you don't have any qualified leads, they won't.
Right.
And so I discovered that I could combine those things. And then years later, I coined the term smarketing, which is
marketing.
Yeah,
love it.
Smart marketing that sells. And it's really like, how do you create a truly effective conversion pathway? And I combined all my sales training skills, my sales process stuff, and my direct response stuff. And that's where I am today.
So you have an end-to-end process, everything from delivering leads to teaching salespeople how to close and sell with that stuff at higher margins so they can grow their business. Yeah,
you mentioned my optimization stuff, and it's about finding those performance black holes. Often you don't need to reinvent yourself. You don't need to reinvent every tactic, every strategy, every sales technique. It's just finding, as Dan Ariely, the social anthropologist, would say, you should always look at your business systems and look at, are you increasing friction or increasing propulsion?
Mm-hmm. So is there any place in sales or business for friction? Is there any good use for friction?
Oh, definitely. I mean, especially in consultative selling. If you have a consultative selling method where you are making a sale, not just taking a sale, then when you're coming to buying decisions, you really need to, a lot of times with people, you do need to create some constructive tension. And that will come from your ability to create deep connection and to create an emotional response. And that doesn't have to be like a tactical manipulative thing. That can be a really empathic, rapport-driven exercise. And in fact, it's got to be really in this day and age, because everybody sees those snake oil salesmen coming.
Oh, it's terrible. And it's amazing. If you look at those things as cheesy tactics and you see them as that, then you'll act that way. Yep. You'll come across that way. And quite frankly, you get blown out.
Yeah.
And I look forward to people getting blown out.
Yeah. And I to carry that on, because this is this is what a subject I'm super passionate about. Good. I just noticed that everybody was kind of talking about attract and convert. And I was like, nobody wants to be converted. I'm like, well, what do you really want to do? Well, I want you to solve my problem. but if I don't like you, I'm not going to deal with you. So my sales methodology, I called it connect and solve. And so my whole ethos is really around the deeper connection I can make, the deeper opportunity I can solve. And what it, of course, leads to, from a pragmatic standpoint, is a bigger sales opportunity, bigger profit, more lines on the invoice, more items per sale. And so those things, because there are some real common things that people do always in sales, like they stop selling before the customer stops buying, because they're taking a sale, not making a sale. They're not actually connecting.
So one of the things that you like to talk about that you're big into is beliefs, right? And the people's belief system, knowing that, you tell me that you believe that beliefs lead to behaviors, which then lead to, my word is results. What are some beliefs that people have or that they ought to have to build these deeper connections? So we're not just talking about a transactional sale.
Well, here's the thing. If you have supportive beliefs or limiting beliefs, they will have come from some evidence that you've accrued. So The number one limiting belief in sales is need for approval.
Yes.
And 70% of people have got that, right? And so, for example, a lot of people will drop their pants on price and, they're like, because, I'm a good guy and you're a good guy and let's make a sale. And it's like, well, okay, but why? Would you rather be liked or would you rather be respected?
Right. Well, not only that, but if you say, hey, I'll be happy to cut my price for you, all your buyer learns is you tried to screw him the first time. Yeah,
it does insinuate a sense of lack, right?
Yeah.
A sense of, well, something's not quite right here, either with you or with the deal or because you're not standing your ground. And humans being what they are, if they sense weakness, they go for it.
Yeah.
So if I'm kind of like, oh, okay, yeah, I'll just give away my money to you, go, oh, well, I'll just keep asking until you give away some more.
Right.
Because
it doesn't cost somebody anything to ask you to cut your price.
Yeah. And, when you deal with the more older cultures in the world, you find that they're the masters at this. I remember working in businesses with some amazing Chinese people, some amazing people from India, and they're the geniuses at this stuff. They know all the angles to talk to you because they've been trading for thousands of years, and they're just geniuses at the stuff. And I learned a lot from working alongside them and realizing, kind of how ignorant I was to how that emotional undercurrent is so important.
Do you see it as a genius? Because I spent some time in Egypt. It's been a while, 20 years, probably 25 years ago. And I saw it just as, and this is not the right word, but it's almost my first word comes on is a shamelessness. It is just a willingness to hang in there longer and to not give up. Is that what you're talking about? Is that the same kind of thing? Is that part of the genius?
Well, I hear what you're saying. That kind of persistent going at somebody until they break, that's painful.
Yeah.
I get what you mean. In saying that, I think that a lot of people give up before they've got a yes or a no.
Yes.
Whereas these people don't do that. They're like, I'm going to persist until you say absolutely no or you say yes. And you see that dogged nature is, I think that's really comes a lot from a lot of self-confidence and self-love going, I've got to do this. I've got to get to the answer. And so it's looked at more like sport, right? Like when you're playing sport, you're like, you better get out of my way. I'm coming through.
Yeah, I'm
like I'm a basketball player, I'm like, bring it, don't sing it, know.
Yeah.
And that's the attitude that they've got. And I just look at it and I go, oh, I can see how people of European extraction get a little offended by this. Like, oh, that's a bit too much. It's a bit emotionally tough. You're putting the blowtorch on me. Oh, stop. And I'm like, well, yeah, but look at the beauty of it as well. It's not what you're used to, but look at the beauty of it. And what can we learn from it? And I find a lot of people coming back to beliefs. You were talking about beliefs.
Yeah.
A lot of people fight for their limitations.
Explain.
So you'll go into a sales conversation and they'll say, yeah, I'm looking for X, Y, and Z. And I go, okay, so what's your budget? Okay, I've got this. Okay, great. And so what are you looking to achieve? Okay, great. And what have you had in the past? Okay, and what would you like in the future? Yeah, and how would that change your life? Okay, cool. All right, cool. Well, we've got this product over here. It does this, it does this, does this, does this. Oh, Let me think about it.
Right.
Think about what? Because I thought that was what you wanted. I have to apologize. If that's not what you wanted, I have to apologize. What else did I not cover that you really wanted? And it's got nothing to do with the product.
Yes.
And again, in sales, they call this bicycle weakness.
Mm-hmm.
So I just want to think about it. I go, do you want it or do you want to think about it? Well, you came in here, you've made the effort, you've clearly been shopping around, you've been researching online, you've been doing all this stuff, you spent all this time, and still you want to delay your solution. And so these things pop up all the time. And so I feel like in sales, for you to be effective, you need to go into, where's that coming from? Like, what are you afraid of? Like, I don't mind if you don't buy, but what are you actually afraid of? Are you afraid that someone's going to judge you for making a poor buying decision? Yeah. Okay, who would that be? And when did that happen? And you see, in my work, I often find that people's beliefs will come from some sort of scar tissue from their past. Right. And so once I address where that came from and I show them that, is that what you want to keep repeating? I mean, because I know who you want to be, but you can see how that's not going to actually serve you. And once I bring that dark stuff into the light and they can see it for themselves and they see that fear is not as ugly as they thought, then they're much more prone to choose themselves and step in confidently. And that also helps it become not an ego thing. All right,
so let me make sure I understand. I want to make sure that I understand. Are you talking about coaching a salesperson to get over their non-supportive bicycle? Or are you talking about having a conversation with the prospect about their non-supportive bicycle?
Yes.
That's what I thought.
I'm talking about both.
Yeah.
Because as a salesperson, if I have a bad bicycle weakness, I expect that of the prospect.
Yeah. Because we believe other people in the world are either like us or should be like us. And so if we
you
have
need to think
things
about it.
over,
Okay, I'll let you go. You can come
that
back.
too. Right.
It's like they're not coming back.
No, they're just saying no. They don't want to talk to you anymore.
Yeah, well, that or you haven't clearly established value. As we know, the majority of rebuttals are about I don't understand the value. Mm-hmm. But then on the other hand, as I said, if I have some sort of a belief system about what keeps me safe, I will instinctively just do it because the brain is designed to do that. In the brain, we have a thing called mirror neurons. The mirror neurons are designed to keep us safe at all times. And anything that's a threat to our safety on an unconscious level, it will kick in. So anything
at what point
unfamiliar,
when you go after somebody, though, and you challenge them on their beliefs, you've got to have a really, really strong bond with somebody.
Yeah, that's right.
To challenge them like that, because at any point they could just say F you and get the hell out of the way, which I don't know. Does that ever happen?
No. It doesn't happen to me, but that's because I think a lot of salespeople are in a bit of a rush.
There you go.
And because they're in a rush, they're kind of like, well, I know what I want. I go, well, it doesn't matter what you want. You need to understand what the opportunity is, connect and solve, not attract and convert. You can say all the right things and you might be a super confident, rock star. I'm like, oh, I'm happy for you. But I guarantee you, if you're rushing, you are leaving money on the table and you are not actually developing empathy and rapport. If anything, they're going to be like, well, that was not a pleasant experience. Even if they bought off you, they're going to go, I don't know if I want to deal with that guy again.
Or they won't refer you. So what are some things that you do? And I know you've studied NLP, but what are some other things that you do and that you teach people to build that kind of a bond quickly?
Oh, well, it's really all about sort of future pacing, Walker, So there's one really easy technique. And that is, first off, why are you here?
Yeah.
Why did you come in today to the store, or why did you agree to have this appointment? Why? Mm-hmm. Well, because we arranged one. Yeah, okay, we arranged it, but why? What are you looking to achieve by having this call? Mm-hmm. Oh, well, I kind of want to resolve this. Well, why?
Yep.
Well, because it's been going on for a while. Okay. And why has it been going on for a while? So there's like a 5 whys. You keep asking that why, and then you eventually get to that the wound, right? The emotional, oh, this hurts. And for example, when I was training OsteoStrong, this is what I did with their sales process. Their sales process was a little technical, and I worked with these people in Mar Vista, and I was like, okay, well, you just need to understand what their past was, what they've tried to do, what the current need is, and then what the future-paced dream outcome would be. Mm-hmm. And if you understand the past, then you know what the strengths and weaknesses were of their past solutions. You know what the cost is. You multiply that by the time they've been suffering. That gets them emotional. You understand what they're trying to achieve right now, and then you paint a picture of the future, and then you show them around the facility, and you match every one of their machines to their vision, and you say, which one of these machines would you like to use? Mm-hmm. And they go, all of them. And I go, oh, well, then what's ideal for you is our most popular offer or our premium offer? Which one of these would you choose? Not everybody chooses the premium offer because it's for exceptional results and it does cost a little bit more.
Yeah.
And they never buy on price. So that resolves that problem for them.
Well, see, you're highly skilled, highly studied. I'm going to say highly intelligent because I just know that from our conversation. You're now trying to take this process and get other people that may not be as highly skilled, highly intelligent, highly trained. How do you get people that are, I'm going to call it newer at this, to be able to do what you do?
Oh, it's really easy, actually. There's a process of questions that goes from, assessment into creating emotional tension, and create, metric understanding, emotional tension, understanding the impact of everything, and then saying, would you like some support resolving that? Mm-hmm. And
but you could give somebody the questions, but if you can give somebody the sheet of questions, you can give somebody the sheet of questions, but a lot of times they can't make that shit come out of their mouth.
Well, again, it's relatively scripted. I'm an improv guy, right? That's my genius. It always has been. Yes. So I don't expect people to be able to do what I can do. Yeah. So I give them a series of questions. I go, well, here's a sheet. Ask these questions. You say, hey, look, just to make sure before we start that I get this right and I can serve you best, I've just got a series of questions so I can truly understand whether you're in the right room and whether we can help you or not. I'm not sure we can. So to make sure that that's the case, would it be okay if I asked you these questions? Cool. Now, from a sales management perspective, when someone says, hey, I missed a sale, I go, okay, so what was the answer to that question? Mm-hmm. Oh, well, they had these problems. It's not what I asked you. I said, what was the answer to that question?
I think it's when they made it up.
Yeah. And so if they don't follow the process, I know the reason why they didn't get to the outcome. And I know that the reason why the client did not understand the value proposition because you hadn't followed the methodology that proves the value proposition.
Well, but sometimes, right, it's not the right fit. I mean, not everybody's a good client, not a good prospect, right? I mean, not everybody you're going to walk away with and because you followed this rote question, they're not going to buy, right?
Yeah, but I don't get attached to the results. And that is a thing that is quite counterintuitive for a lot of salespeople. It's get attached to the process. Don't get attached to the result.
Same. So we have a saying, you probably use it too. Some will, some won't. So what? Who's next? Some will buy, some won't. So what? Who's the next one to be talking to? Right?
I adore that. That is so killer. I mean, when
give
I was
me credit
21,
the first 2 times. Give me credit the first 2 times. After that, it's yours. How about that?
Oh man, but it's pretty cool. Like that. I just love stuff that's clean because I'm all about simple language. And when I was 21, I did door-to-door sales, and I was knocking on about 125 doors a night.
What were you selling?
Encyclopedias. And I was walking into it turned me into this bulletproof machine, right? Because that's what it does. When you have 120 knocks on a door and 115 of them are telling you piss off and then 5 of them are saying, oh, okay, let's have a chat. You get pretty tough. You learn, persistent speech resistance and you learn all that stuff. And I remember finishing that job, and don't get me wrong, I don't advocate that for people, because honestly, it is a little bit of brainwashing, that sort of.
Plus, nobody knows what a freaking encyclopedia is anymore, right?
No, that's true, right? Kids would be like, what
are you talking about?
It's like, well, why is this phone connected to the wall? That's weird, you know?
Right. Yeah. Oh my God, what is that? What is this cord thing?
So yeah, I mean, and it was just, what I discovered from that was, and that was really a gift, was that when I came back out from that job and back into the real world, I was like, there was no fear. I mean, I would go up to a bar. I'm a young dude. I just go up to the hottest looking woman in the bar and go, how you doing? What's happening?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
You know, and I had no fear. I had no problem with that stuff. And so that also kind of made me realize something about myself. I've naturally always been quite brave and good at bouncing back from stuff that's tough.
Is that innate, or is that something you've worked on?
Well, I always had that. I'm from a family of 5 boys. So, get in fights with all my brothers, and I was just like, you just got to handle it and press on, right? Mm-hmm. And, but that job and my natural inclination, that job did show me that there was a whole nother level to this. And then as I got older, I got more involved with my intuition and my sort of, I suppose you'd say, sort of feminine energy and the spiritual stuff. And I also realized that, sort of a Buddhist philosophy is, again, don't be attached to results.
Yes.
And my auntie is a Buddhist nun. And so I was like, it's really true. Like, just show up and be everything you can be. And, when in doubt, ask good questions and shut up. Mm-hmm. And that applies to everything, not just sales. It's like, if you want to have a fantastic relationship, ask good questions and shut up. If you want to make good sales, ask good questions and shut up.
Shut up.
You will succeed. But unfortunately, we've kind of been conditioned now to believe that, if I don't make some noise, I'm not relevant.
Yeah.
And that's just simply not true. So I also help people kind of unpack that and remind them that, separate of what the world says, you do have an X factor, and let's make sure everybody knows, because this is another condition that I find, especially with entrepreneurs, for example, owner-operators. They're so busy trying to do everything that they become best-kept secrets. Tell me more. Yeah. Well, there's this idea, and I'm writing a book on success mythology. Good. That, that words like hard work equals this. I go, can you show me the stats on that? Shit, no. You can't show me the stats on that, because there are countries all over the world that work hard that have got nothing. So that's not true. Oh, when are you going to be serious? Most people that are serious, I wouldn't want to drink with them at a bar. I wouldn't want to know them. They're getting cancer, like the serious negative energy manifests in their body. Yes. Like, is that really what you want? Now, these are things we get grown up with. You got to work hard, and if you work harder than everyone else, you'll win. Rubbish. If you learn more, you'll earn more. Rubbish. If a serious person, serious people are focused. Rubbish. But what's the alternative? So I discovered that words like passion, if you exchange the word hard work for passionate work, feel how different that, even when you hear it, you go, totally that's well, it's because you're wanting to do it, right? As opposed to hard work, which may just be breaking rocks. Exactly. And everyone gets overwhelmed, right? Going, let me model Tony Robbins. Let me model this person. Let me model that, and you're going, hustle that's culture. Actually not the answer, because A, you're not their personality type. B, you don't have the infrastructure to match what they're actually doing. C, they teach you that if you just do this, it'll work, but they don't tell you how difficult it is to implement everything they've got, and they don't tell you that implementation is actually what matters. And at the same time, there are only one Tony. There have been, 100,000 people or more that have walked across coals with Tony Robbins. So there's only one Tony Robbins. If it works so well, there'd be a whole lot of them, right? I mean, he nearly went bankrupt himself. Like, if you know the backstory of stuff like this, because again, this is NLP's area, and that's what he's trained in. He nearly went down himself. And he got support from other people, and they brought him back because he had this massive infrastructure. And like you say, there's only one Tony Robbins. Well, it's fascinating. I tell you what, I've really enjoyed this conversation. You kind of opened my eyes to several things. One, I love the idea of turning
the words from hard work to passionate work. I think it's very powerful, and it makes a lot of sense. And immediately my heart kind of leapt when you said that. So I thought that really kind of struck with me. And again, the reminder that two of the biggest killers of sales are need for approval and a non-supportive bicycle. Are you familiar with Dave Curlin? Do you know who Dave Curlin is?
Yeah.
Okay, so you and I had to have that in common as well. So, all right. So, where can people find? Before I ask you to bring this all together, Justin, where can somebody find you if they want to get back in touch?
Well, first off, I have a website, ishiftresults.com. You can go and check that out. But I have a couple of free gifts that you can go and digest, and an opportunity to have a chat with me if that's what works for you. And that is sociotap.com/Justin Cunningham. And I'm sure you'll put that up somewhere, or
we'll put that in the show notes. Is it it's SOCIOTAP, correct?
Socia, SOCIA. tap.com/Justin
Tap
Cunningham.
is TAP? Mm-hmm. Okay, sociotap/Justin Cunningham.
Yeah, Sociotap.
Right, perfect.
Yeah, that's right. So anyway, and again, you'll see that in the notes, but you can track me down. I'm constantly doing little events on standing out, transformation, optimization. So again, and you'll be able to find me on Facebook and things like that, and LinkedIn and all that good stuff. Cool. And I'd love to share some more with you.
Good. Hey, so wrap us up.
Yeah. Well, for the people that have stayed through to the end, first off, thank you. And secondly, like I said, I'm a freestyle guy. So I'll do a little freestyle just to finish out. So my name is Justin from the South Pacific, and to be specific, when I get on topics, I'm known to rip it. Not like a zip, more like a powerful force. I'm in the South Pacific while my man up here is in the North. So if you got a bicycle weakness or a need for approval, then I see what's happening, but I'm going to make it a little bit more curly like a noodle. See, it's like a Haitian in voodoo, like a style that I do. It's like most people that do those things their sales outcomes end up in doo-doo. So you can see that my depiction, my first edition, is to listen. I'm a freestyle genius without the need for a written. This is not pre-rehearsed, this verse. No need to curse. Let me check my notes. I'm all about 80-20s and Pareto's law. Styles are core, connect and solve so you can see what's more. I'm a freestyle animal as I choose to explore with similar similes and magnificent metaphors. This is going out to Walker McKay. This is the podcast that you should listen to all day. This is JC, aka Justin Cunningham, with a stunning plan, as you can see, from the South Pacific, and goddamn, I'm the man when I break it down like this in the jam.
Oh, okay. Well, I got to tell you, that's the first time in 160 episodes that's ever happened, and I thought that was freaking awesome, Justin. Thank you so much. I appreciate your coming on the show and being a part of this thing. Once again, a reminder, if you have not yet written a review for the podcast, not just the stars. The stars are nice, but it's the words that matter. It's the words that move the needle on getting this show in front of more people. Help me out there. I really would appreciate it. If you will actually write a review, take a picture of it, and send it to me at walker@walkermckay.com, I got a special gift for you. Justin, thank you so much. I appreciate your time. Thanks for being with us today.
Thanks for listening to the OBS Sales School podcast. If you haven't already, please take 1 minute to write a quick review for the show. It really does make a huge difference. Also, subscribe to the show and please forward this episode to somebody else who needs to hear it. As a bonus for listening, I'm going to give you access to a free mini course, 7 expensive sales mistakes you're making and what you can do about it. Go to www.7salesmistakes.com and get access to the free mini course. That's the number 7salesmistakes.com. Thanks again for listening to the OBS Sales School podcast.